All right, everyone, coming back at you with yet another trick tip. So let's follow up the Feebles that we did last week with Boardslide to Feebles for this week. For this trick, obviously you're gonna need to have a good Boardslide. It helps if you learn those Feeble grinds because it'll teach you how to come out of the trick and how to stand in it. So I'm gonna warm up a little bit, just like normal, go through the paces, see what I can do and what I can't do, and then we'll get to it. Let's get it. A little sticky, it caught.
I didn't see it at the end.
Whoa, bitch! All right, so homie John showed up, skating some. Yeah, so I'm gonna get into, before the sun goes down, I'm gonna get into the actual trick tip. First, I'll go over like foot setup and approach. Approach should be pretty self-explanatory, but I'll get into that and then like the mechanics of the trick. So let's get to it before I'm out of energy. All right, so for foot setup, for this trick, you can kind of change your front foot position a little bit, depending on how you disperse your weight. So for me, I kind of have it right below those front bolts, and then I'll have like my back foot kind of touching that tail, like in the pocket, just enough to lift into the board slide, because you don't want to pop into the board slide and then you lose your foot placement. So for curbs, it's best to just lift a little bit and set yourself in. But this is kind of how I have my feet. If you're a little back foot heavy when you do this trick, like a little too much back foot heavy, you can scoot your foot forward a little bit. If you're too front foot heavy, then you can scoot your foot back a little bit, and that could even it out. So let's talk about how you tilt in and some of the issues that can come up when you're trying this trick. All right, so usually when I'm approaching for this trick, I'll be parallel, just like a board slide. If you come at too much of an angle, then it'll shove your back truck up against the curb, and I'll explain why you don't want to do that. If you're at an angle and you shove your back truck completely against the curb, when you tilt in, you'll hit your kingpin. So you want to be kind of parallel, pretty close to the curb, and when you tilt on, like you have your feet where I told you. When you go on, set it in, sit on the board slide for a second. Try not to press this truck against the curb. Like I said just now, if you press this truck into the curb and try to tilt onto your toes, what happens is you immediately hit your kingpin. Even if you have like an inverted kingpin, you'll still tag it and it'll probably put you to a hole. So I always keep it kind of close, but not all the way, right? You don't want to be here either, like to where it's by your front truck. It's best if it's like kind of more centered or a little bit towards the back truck. Sorry, there's kids yelling over here. But the other important tip for when you get into it, and Jay, P1 brand, for any of you that have watched him skate, he's the reason that I figured this trick out. Because I couldn't do it, I kept hitting my kingpin like I told you. And he told me where my board should be, not all the way on. And then also he told me to, this is what really was the game changer. He told me to cock it. So what that means is, so I'm goofy. So when I turn in like this, if I over rotate a little bit while I'm board sliding, as soon as you press toe side, kind of more with your back foot a little bit, as soon as you press toe side and go to the Feeble, it almost automatically puts you in the spot where you need to be. If you're like this, just completely straight, it can sometimes be a little hard at first when you haven't done the trick before to tilt in. You know, you gotta have your toes like right there at that edge and be able to tilt. So if you have it cocked like this, it kind of gives you a little bit of momentum in the tilt motion, and that's how you can kind of sit and glide. So over rotate that board just a little bit, and then as soon as you go toe side and go this way, it's probably gonna just fall right where it needs to be. So, and then after you tilt in, this is where it gets interesting. You can grind this trick and stay toe side the whole time and try to hang on. But the problem with that is if you stay toe side the whole time when you tilt into it, when you try to come out of it, you'll come out primo. You'll like this. So what I would recommend is when you tilt into it, as soon as you get in, sit down on your heel side wheel. Sit down on it, like on that heel, and then you'll just glide. I mean, if you're sitting on your heel like that, as soon as you tilt in, it's a lot easier to hold it for a very long time. If you watch really good people that, you know, pro skaters that skate rails and stuff, when they do a feeble grind, they're not toe side the entire time. They're sitting in that pocket. So that's why I said it helps to know how to feeble grind when you do this trick, because the tilt motion toe side first is what gets you there, but to hold it and to come out of it, you need to be on your heel. So that's pretty much the gist, the main points of the trick. I'm gonna do some, and if John wants to do some, he can do some as well. This is John. His name on Instagram is Chill Cruiser. So we'll do some, and then and then I'll go over everything at the end, and yeah, hopefully you guys will get it. Let's get to it. It's getting pretty dark. Probably won't be able to see anything soon. But just to recap, and there's one little thing I forgot to say. Make sure that when you tilt into it toe side, it's better to go gentle rather than try to whip into it. Because if you try to whip in, that's like another way that you can hit your kingpin. So it's kind of just ease into it with your toes, gently get into it and just sit into it. It'll lock in, and the other thing is obviously make sure your knees are nice and soft, nice and bent. Don't dip your head forward or anything like that. So remember, over rotate it a little bit. Don't push your back base plate all the way against the curb. And yeah, over rotate, cock it, sit into it, ease in. And when you come out of it, just make sure you're heel side that whole time so you can kind of just glide right out. Because even if you're just a little bit heel side, it'll still help you get out of the trick without falling primo. So let me know what you guys want to see next. Feeble and Boardslide Feeble were the two that were highly requested, so that's what I did these past 2 weeks. We could branch off into something different next week. We can branch off into blunt slides, or I don't know, whatever you guys, or nose slide, 180 nose grinds, again, whatever, anything your heart desires. Well, not anything, because I'm not that good. Anyway, so I'll catch you guys next time. Keep killing it, keep tagging me in the posts. I really appreciate it. thank you to John for doing some boardslide feebles with me. He does them way better than I do. So I'm not like really a boardslide tilt guy, but I could do them, but I'm not obviously the best. So he's like really good at them. But anyways, I'll catch you guys next time.